Arkansas is a state of storytellers, and Arkansas history is best told by those who have lived it. Stories about the relationships, people, and events that have shaped all of our lives are a part of this history. Since 1999, the David and Barbara Pryor Center for Arkansas Oral and Visual History has been collecting, preserving, and connecting our rich heritage with fellow Arkansans and the world. Thousands of hours of interviews have been recorded, but only a small fraction have now been cataloged. These are stories worth saving, stories told by the people who were involved in Arkansas history firsthand, stories worth sharing.
I celebrated my 5th birthday, and it was a few weeks after my birthday that the soldiers came. My brother and I were in the living room looking out the front window, and we saw 2 soldiers marching up our driveway. And I remember the sunlight flashing on their bayonets. They stomped at the front porch, banged on the door. My father answered it, and literally at gunpoint, we were ordered out of our home. And we went out and we stood on the driveway waiting for my mother to come out. And when she finally emerged from the house, she had the baby in one arm, a great big huge duffel bag in the other, and tears were streaming down her cheek.
And so you end up in a place called Rower?
Rower, R-O-H-W-E-R.
And that's in southeastern Arkansas?
Southeastern Arkansas, and locked up. But then, after a year, the government realized there's a wartime manpower shortage. And here are all these young people that we've called enemy non-aliens. How do we tap them? And the amazing thing is, thousands of young Japanese American men and women went from behind those barbed wire fences, leaving their family in imprisonment to fight for this country. But there's another stinging irony to this story. Those that perished on those bloody battlefields and had their coffins covered with the American flag, those flags were brought back to their wives or their parents, still behind American barbed wire fences. Those incredible, crazy young men who went from that camp and fought and died for this country. They were the greatest generation. And these young men whose names are there on the base of that monument were extraordinarily, uncommonly great. They made my America possible.
When I was hired in 1965, I did not realize the Department of Education was still segregated, because there were 3 black people working in the building. But in the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, in order for the department to get those federal funds, the department had to be integrated.
Yes.
So I was hired to integrate the department. And the way I knew I was integrating the department is a few days after I was hired. In fact, I have a copy of the little news article that came out. I got a call from an Arkansas Gazette reporter wanting to interview me. I said, for what? Because you integrated the Department of Education.
Grandfather Arnold had this great Civil War story. He was 5 years old when the Yankee troops came through Union County and ran them out of their house, and they were off in the woods eating acorns and stuff for 3 or 4 days. And came back in, of course, the soldiers had taken everything.
I remember my first experience was I was driving this lady, she must have been about 60 years old, to the polls. We pulled up to this old grocery store, and she looked on the porch, and there was a man sitting there. I think his name was Mr. Gilmore. She said, I can't go in there to vote. Mr. Gilmore doesn't want me to vote.
Take quite a bit of fire. Those old planes are very sturdy. C-47s are marvelous. I mean, they've saved my life many times. But they were, the bad thing over there was weather. We lost more people to weather than we did to combat.
Of course, with the war and the rationing things, and they asked the school to help with the rationing because it was such an enormous job to get people enrolled and get them the ration coupons that they would need for sugar and gasoline and rubber tires and meat.
And this was, white and black. It was a culture thing. It wasn't a racial thing.
Right.
It was just a culture of having a good time. And they worked hard all week, and they were going to blow off a little steam. It was kind of like the old Wild Wild West days. But the town was bustling. I mean, it was just like a carnival atmosphere. You couldn't walk down the streets.
Wait a minute. I got a plan. I want you to be my backfield coach. I said, Bob, I'm never coach. I want you to be my backfield coach. And said, we'll work out a deal with Coach Dodd. Won't get mad at either one of us. You go ahead and sign with the pros, and then I'll call Coach Dodd and tell him that I want you to be the coach, and he'll advise you to come coach with me, and we won't make him mad. Nobody knows this story.
And I took a bus, 10 cents, got on the bus, went down to State Press, walked in and says, is Mr. or Mrs. Bates here? And she says, I'm Daisy Bates. Can I help you? I said, Miss Bates, I need $50. I'm trying to register. And she says, what? You need $50? What you need $50? I said, I'm trying to register in medical school. I'm Edith May Irby. And I need $50 more than the money I have to register. She didn't ask me anything else. She went up and looked behind a shelf, behind some books, took out a jar, took out $50 and gave it to me. It wasn't until later I learned that was her last $50.
We never knew what we were eating. Really, we could never realize what we were eating. And finally one day I said, Grandma, what am I eating? Anyway, it sure is good. She said, you see those little squirrels running out in the yard?
Well, we got to find a way to get more politically involved in this process. Up pops Bill Clinton. Here comes this young, dynamic guy who we can talk to who wants to be Attorney General, right? So let's get on this horse.
All of these interviews are a priceless resource for historians, researchers, teachers, students, documentary filmmakers, and anyone else who wants to know more about Arkansas history. More than 24,000 hours of historical videotape from the KATV Channel 7 collection dating back to the 1950s needs to be cataloged and made available to the public.
Listen to me, baby. I'll tell you how I love you. You could throw me in the ocean, I'd swim to the bank and crawl on home to you. Ain't that loving you, baby? Ain't that loving you, baby? Ain't that loving you, baby? But you don't even know my name. You don't even know my name. Oh no.
The Center's web presence continues to expand as more features are collected, processed, and digitized. And all of these resources are available to everyone free of charge. Each time an interview or event is recorded, an important part of Arkansas history is saved. Your support is essential to help us collect, preserve, and connect our oral and visual history for Arkansas and the world. The Pryor Center for Arkansas Oral and Visual History. The story of Arkansas through the recording of spoken memories and visual records. The Pryor Center. Collect, preserve, and connect.